If you are not yet a member of the Patreon, link is in the description. Please consider becoming a member, as you will have access to many videos you cannot find here on YouTube.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
So over the past couple of weeks, two actresses by the name of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo have been trending all over social media because they're very weird, sensual, almost exaggerated behavior seen in public interviews and other public settings. Now, while many people have made jokes about this, memes, and other skits, finding their behavior to be very funny, and some people have even went as far to say that they believe that this is some inorganic way that Hollywood has chosen for them to behave so that they can push or build more buzz around the film that they both co-starred in called Wicked. However, I have reason to believe that the reasoning or the motivation behind their weird behavior is actually a lot more sinister, as I believe that the film Wicked and the sequel to the film Wicked, called, of course, The Wizard of Oz, which are two films that are rooted in actual real witchcraft, and Ariana Grande and Cynthia both are aware of that, and I will prove that in this video. Welcome back to another episode of Diddy Got a Podcast, and of course, I'm your host, Diddy. I have been waiting to get to this video for quite some time. Just been needing the time to get around to conducting the necessary research for this video. And I'm sure everybody has seen the odd behavior from Cynthia and Ariana Grande, but not very many people know what's actually going on behind the scenes. And so I'm here to maybe provide a little bit of insight into what could potentially or mostly explain this weird behavior. Before we get into that, I just ask if you can please hit that like button on your way in for the YouTube algorithm so that this video can reach more people like yourself. I would really appreciate it. Now, without further ado, let's just break it down from a fundamental level. Let's just start with the actresses. Let's start with Ariana Grande. So Ariana Grande, who is one of very few people who have had a successful career in acting and also a successful career in the music industry, right? She has hit records and she's been on hit television shows. But because of this very reason, that alone is a reason to be very suspicious about Ariana Grande. Very similar to the girl Sabrina Carpenter with the hit song Espresso, she also came up in Hollywood as well, right? She was a Nickelodeon product, as was Ariana Grande.
This is Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter?
Yes.
What is it doing here?
I'm having people sing it, but I wasn't going to ask you to sing.
You weren't going to ask me to sing?
I didn't think you'd want to.
You're mistaken, ma'am. I'm working late because I'm a singer.
And as a reminder, Ariana Grande is also heavily affiliated with a guy by the name of Dan Schneider, who has been accused by several people over the years of child abuse. This is the same Ariana Grande who has dated the open occultist, and I'm going to say open occultist because if you listen to his lyrics, if you watch his music videos, he literally quite tells you what he's into, and that is The Weeknd. Ariana Grande literally dated The Weeknd, and that doesn't come as no surprise to me, as Ariana Grande has admitted multiple different times and made it clear that she wasn't joking, that she is an actual witch, not just in films like The Wicked, but in real life.
I remember being so swept off my feet by just the story, and the comedy really stayed with me when I was little. I don't think at that point I had seen anything. I mean, I was 10, but I don't think I had seen anything that moved me that way.
Did you meet Kristen that day?
Yeah. I did. She gave me body gel. She says it's bath salts, but it was body gel.
It was something.
It had glitter, and I think it had actual witchcraft magic in it. I really do.
There's no way you get to this without that witchcraft.
I think there's a combination of real magic, manifestation, and hard work. Yeah. That needs to happen for things like this to happen, don't you think?
I think. Yeah. I'm somewhere in between. I've learned. I don't know. I sit somewhere between being a literal witch, literal witch.
A literal witch, literal witch.
I'm not kidding, and being like the most realistic, cut dry, like.
Both the information about Dan Schneider, his connection to Ariana Grande, Ariana Grande's connection to The Weeknd, her admitting that she's a witch, all of this will be relevant for what we will discuss later in this video. Now let's move to Cynthia Erivo, the other very weird acting person sitting next to Ariana Grande. Let me just back up and say what I've noticed. I'm really big with patterns, and what I've noticed in the music industry, a lot of times with so-called black actors and actresses or people of color, what I've noticed is when they normally win a Grammy or an Oscar or a Tony Award, etc., they usually fall into one or three or four categories. They're either starring in a slave film, a gangster film, or some sort of ungodly, unbiblical film. right? And what I mean by unbiblical, I just simply mean some film that's probably blasphemous towards Jesus Christ. And when you look at Cynthia Erivo's career, she's no different, because she is the recipient of several accolades and one of few individuals nominated for an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony Award, winning all of them except for the Oscar. Now, I've said this before, when you have these highly decorated people that some people know, some people don't, I already find that as a red flag, and that shoots my antennas up, and it comes off as very suspicious. Very similar to the girl Tyler. The girl Tyler with the hit song Water. Make me sweat, make me harder, make me lose my breath, make me harder. Where did she come from? How did she come into the industry and immediately win a Grammy? You got people like Blac Chyna's mom coming out and saying the obvious reason to me, how it is that she can enter the industry out of nowhere and immediately win a Grammy.
Same thing I just said. Yeah. I just told you that earlier. If I sit here on Street Stars and I'm subliminally just every now and then.
Just every now and then.
Every now and then.
Every now, just.
We got. Okay. And they'll contact you.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. We got another one on the roster. Let's go.
Is that what Ice Spice was trying to do at the Super Bowl?
It's not a try. She did. And you know what? And I don't care what nobody say, because I'm always right at the end of the day when it comes to this stuff. Every time. She's an industry plant. It's common. You came from nowhere. Your little short... No. Girl. No.
She does seem as... when they
You just came from anywhere. And so is the other girl. Give me sweat. Whatever. Make me hot.
Not Tyler. Come on. That sounds like just a little bitty girl who they wrote some songs for. And damn, not Tyler.
Plants. Give her... watch this. What's this? March. February next year. Cold-blooded freak.
Damn.
Turned all the way out. Watch. One song gave you a Grammy, but you got people like Angie Stone that been around since I was 10 years old being a rapper, never got one.
Hey.
How's that possible?
And this isn't just any person saying it. Like I said, this is Blac Chyna's mom, which holds a lot of weight, because Blac Chyna is another one of those people that's a part of the music industry that no one really knows what their talent is. It's like the Kardashians. Where do you come from? Why are you famous? Why are you on the front of magazine covers? This is the same Blac Chyna that had literally a Baphomet tatted on her body. So if anybody could probably have a little bit of insight on how it works, how the inside of the industry works, Blac Chyna's mom may have a little bit of an idea. Which, as a side note, ironically reminds me of what Tucker Carlson was saying at the Charlie Kirk event earlier this year, when he was saying people like Bill Ackman. How did these people become billionaires? I believe the woman that's over, what's her name, Weiss, or whatever her name is, over at CBS, no talent. How are you the boss of everybody else? How do you have more money and more success, but no one really knows what your skill is? Well, I'm not even here to say that Cynthia Erivo is not skilled, because obviously she can act. But it just makes you wonder, how do these people get into these positions? And to my point about, so-called black or people of color actors in Hollywood having to fit sort of this small mold, when you look at Cynthia's career, it's no different. The Color Purple, Harriet Tubman, and she even starred as Jesus. Need I say more? How much more blasphemous can you get? Which makes more sense when you look at photos like this, when they're saying things like, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande finally clear the air. We are in a non-demi-curious, semi-binary relationship. What does that mean? Well, they go on to explain, it means we are not actually a couple, but we are curious about what that could mean, and everything she demented. That literally means nothing. They're literally talking in circles. They're literally trying to redefine reality, and they can't do that. But I digress. Let's talk a little bit about The Wizard of Oz and sort of the inspiration of what goes into these films and these sequels, that being of The Wizard of Oz. Because a guy by the name of Mervyn LeRoy is actually the main producer of the 1939 film Wizard of Oz, and was an active Freemason and a member of the Prince of Orange Lodge number 16. And this Mervyn LeRoy character was born in San Francisco to Jewish parents Edna Nee Armour and Harry LeRoy. And his family was financially ruined by the 1906 earthquake that destroyed his father's import-export business. Well, the film, The Wizard of Oz, was actually made by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or MGM for short, which I'm sure we all have heard of at some point. watching films, which was actually headed by a guy named Louis B. Mayer, who bought the film rights to the novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz from Samuel Goldwyn in 1938. Well, it should also come as no surprise that this Mayer guy was also a 33rd degree Freemason, associated with the St. Cecile Lodge number 568 in New York City. Well, it gets even more interesting, way more interesting. There's a guy by the name of L. Frank Baum, who was the original author and creator of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and the entire Oz universe and the mythology behind it in 1900, right? L. Frank is responsible for all the original characters from Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, Emerald City, the Wicked Witch, the Yellow Brick Road, etc. And as we know, this book became one of the most iconic children's stories in American history. But what many people don't know is that the quote-unquote magic inspired in the film wasn't just some fantasy like it was for most people watching the film or reading the books, because for L. Frank, it was very much so real life to him. The magic wasn't just fairy tale. L. Frank Baum was a part of an esoteric movement called the Theosophical Society. So the proper term for him was he was a theosophist, which he joined in 1892. And this movement was founded by someone named Helena Blavatsky, who was a huge inspiration to the one and only, yep, you guessed it, Aleister Crowley. And even the spiritual double meaning behind the Wizard of Oz film is literally rooted in spiritual alchemy. For example, in occultism and theosophical readings, the Yellow Brick Road is seen as a metaphoric, quote-unquote, golden path, a spiritual or mystical journey the soul takes towards higher consciousness or enlightenment. And then the journey along this quote-unquote spiritual or mystical Yellow Brick Road for Dorothy, where she encounters the Scarecrow who was missing a brain, the Tin Man who was missing a heart, we all know it, and the Lion who didn't have courage, was actually another interpretation of how the soul processes intellect, emotion, courage when seeking self-realization or quote-unquote wholeness. Now, for those of you that may feel like that sounds and seems innocent in its nature, it's not, because what this means in alchemy or theosophists, they believe that this essentially means that you don't need God. You're able to go along this journey called life, this spiritual journey, and if you're able to dig deep within, there isn't some outer source, that being Jesus Christ or God or what we believe as Christians, but instead you are your own God. You're able to dig within and you're able to pull it out of yourself. But it gets even worse because the person who played the character Dorothy was a girl by the name of Judy Garland, who, by the way, was only 16 years old when she was filming, and MGM actually viewed her as overweight. Many people don't know that Judy Garland would come out later and expose how she was subjected to extreme calorie-restricted diets, such as soups, lettuce, black coffee, different amphetamines and stimulants to suppress her appetite, barbiturates, or what they called at the time downers, so that she would be able to sleep afterwards, and even being doped up on pills during the time of the filming, which would later lead to her being addicted to pills. And part of this, such as being placed on downers so that she can sleep afterwards, was because she was forced to work up to 18 hours a day, 6 days a week with very little rest. And she even later told friends and biographers that Louis Mayer, you know, the Freemason that was over the film, touched her inappropriately. He would place his hand on her chest while speaking to her. Older men around the studio treated her like a commodity, not a teenage girl. Some of the adult male Munchkin actors harassed her, pinched her, tried to grab her under her dress. And this will lead to severe depression, instability, financial troubles, and unfortunately even an early death at the age of 47 years old. Even the Tin Man character, the guy who played the Tin Man, dealt with severe health complications because of the paint that his body was subjected to and the metals that he had to wear and inhale during the time of this filming, with him even sustaining an eye infection at one point in time. So why is this important? When you look at the behavior of Ariana Grande and Cynthia, I think, to me, like I said at the beginning, if you want the uncensored version of this, it's on Patreon. To me, it appears that they have been indulgent, allegedly, they've been indulgent in certain rituals that would better explain their very odd behavior with each other. One could even go as far to say MK Ultra. Because when you're working with the people in Hollywood, one of you grew up in Hollywood and Ariana Grande, one of you have already shown that you're willing to play whatever role is necessary to quote unquote sell your soul to the industry, then I think this can be one of the results. There are other ways that actresses and actors show that they've sold out. I just think this is a way that a lot of us are not accustomed to seeing. But y'all in the comment section, let me know what you think, man. These are just my thoughts. Hit the like button on your way out if you do not mind. I'm Demetrius. I go by Diddy. Until next time. Peace.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.